and welcome back to another episode of the ADHDads. I'm your host, CJ.
I'm JJ.
And I'm still recovering from COVID, so forgive me if I cough a little bit in your ear or if I sound a little off with my stuffy nose, but we're making it through over here in the Kowalski-Williams household. How you doing, bud?
Oh man, I'm feeling pretty good. It's not been something that I've been hearing much of, I'd say recently at all, COVID. I haven't since I moved here to Salt Lake City, I've not heard a single piece of, news about COVID being something that's being spread around other than within the little circles at school. So who knows, when school starts up, maybe I'll report back with my own COVID recording. But things are going all right this week, buddy.
Yeah, man, we thought we were out of the woods with it, and we haven't thought about it for a long time either. Thought it was safe to go on a cruise with 4,000 other people, go to a foreign country, and then we got COVID. So, nice little honeymoon gift from the universe.
Yeah, you jumped on a petri dish that floats around out, isolated from the rest of the world. But unfortunately, it's still the petri dish. I think cruise ships have like a bad rap for spreading stuff. But at the same time, man, you had so much great times, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that. What were some of the highlights, and if dare I ask the question, like what was like part of the superpower that you got to use in your relationship with your wife on this honeymoon cruise?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think the best part about the whole trip for us was really just the connection, brother. We have had a chaotic summer. We've had a chaotic year, brother. And that we could kind of tail end that chaotic year with a whole bunch of love and connection, just the two of us on this cruise, was just really a testament to Maritza and mine's relationship and how we work well in times of chaos together. And, that wasn't something that just happened, that's something that we really forged together and worked preemptively, in times of calm before the chaos started. So it was really good to kind of just like feel the relief of the chaos and the stress kind of alleviate a little bit. And as far as my superpower, man, I've always believed that one of my greatest gifts that I've been bestowed by the universe is my humor. I've always been able to just kind of bring a smile in some tough times and some seasons of life that have brought in some challenges. And, it was good to see my wife smile and that I could still have that superpower with her despite the year that we've had.
I saw some of the pictures of the two of you smiling, and it was evident that this was not something where I'm putting on a face for the camera. I'm being captured in a moment of pure joy, and that was a great thing that you two got to get away. And I wanted to just kind of, I don't know, ask the question maybe a little bit here, and probe your brain on this a little bit. But you mentioned coming out of a challenging year, and somebody asked me yesterday, how this last week was, and I said, it was a really tough weekend. And here you are saying, hey, it was a tough year. So we do recognize certain points in our journey as being kind of like seasons. And your season did drag on, I think, for anybody who's listened to us up until this point, from day one, knows that there's been a lot of challenges and tests and stuff that your family has gone through. And so I guess the question that I have is, like the response that I received was, you got a smile on your face, you seem to be handling it well. And, I believe that that's true for me, but I also know that I still struggled through the process, and it did beat me down. And there were times where I was like, I just need to find an outlet to let this out. So having thought about that as somebody who's processing as a single father, and then what I want to ask you is, if you're doing this with somebody else, you're doing this life with somebody else, you've committed to this person, and you are experiencing a lot of trials through an extended period of time, and yet you bring humor and you bring optimism and you experience joy with this person. How did you get there? How did you maintain that? What kept this together? What kept this love, sparked, and not just sparked, but like really shining bright?
Yeah, I think really to answer that question, the first thing that comes to my mind is curiosity, man. You know, it's like one of the number one themes that we bring back into the show and that we talk about. Um, yeah, you know, staying open and curious and asking good questions to really get both of our opinions about this, you know, because I know a lot of couples, it's really easy to fall into when stuff starts going wrong and obstacles start appearing in front of us. You know, we start turning on each other. You know, we start, well, I have the fix and I want to do it my way. You know, our co-parent or our co-decisions haven't led to a great moment, so maybe I need to take the reins. And we really kind of isolate ourselves and put on blinders during this time. And you know, I think that my wife and I did a really good job of just staying open to the potential solutions that lay in front of us. And how we got there was a lot of conversations beforehand, JJ. You know, thank God we didn't wait until the SHIT started hitting the fan before we started trying to figure out how to recover and what, you know, crisis management looks like. So a lot of this work, JJ, is, you know, the date nights and the curiosity and appreciative inquiries that we do on a weekly basis when we do have the free time to ourselves to set up, you know, what is it going to look like when we don't agree? You know, how do we come to a conflict resolution when we both have different perspectives? And hammering that out, defining that, and discussing our boundaries in that area has been really crucial to set us up for getting over this hump.
So you essentially you connect every single day in some ways.
We try to, and sometimes, you know, you get lazy with it or you get distracted with it or you're too tired. But, you know, our favorite part of the day is, when we get to watch TV together or we get to talk in bed, you know, and we're not a passive TV watching couple. You know, we don't just sit there and ignore each other while we watch our programs. We have really great in-depth conversations, you know, and we hit the pause button a lot to discuss, you know, what we're watching. And we watch a lot of like trash TV reality dating shows, you know, and, you know, it's not like the healthiest dynamic to watch, but, you know, through watching those dynamics, we can pause and say, you know, what do you think about that? Or how would you react? Or how would that make you feel? And we can really kind of get into some, you know, trash TV that leads to some great outlooks on life, you know? So, I mean, that time of the day that is passive and where you're trying to recharge, you know, and get a thought to yourself doesn't have to be so independent. You know, I think there's really great intimacy connection if we do it with our partner.
So if you're experiencing chaos, they're also your battle partner, I would suppose.
Oh man, I don't know where I would be without my partner in crime here. So
yeah, I mean, I love that connection that you're not just simply, you know, being passive and, you know, even if you are watching a program, you're not simply letting the program kind of guide the two of you through the rest of your evening. And therefore, as soon as you turn the TV off, you realize, oh, dang, how are you doing? Didn't see you there. But actually actively showing that connection to each other and acknowledging it. And I don't know, some people would probably go crazy if their partner paused the program, but the fact that you two understand each other and you got to that point together is a good testament to your relationship. Because yeah, I could see other people being like, you know, one thing I really hate about him is he turns the damn TV on pause because he can't figure out the program for himself and he needs me to do it for him.
Maybe it goes back to like when I was a kid, you know, and because I'll tell you, when our kids do it, my wife hates it. She's like, just be quiet, save the questions till the end. You know, well, they will explain everything. Just wait, you know.
You know, I imagine one key to unlocking that is that, you know, you talk about improvisation and the yes and conversation, right? So you are actively engaging her brain and giving her, you know, feedback as well as kind of, really affirming her in those conversations. So, you know, a kid sometimes is just like diverting from whatever topics on your minds, but you're actually actively kind of working off of what she has to give you and vice versa.
Well, you know, I kind of look at it as a great opportunity with the kids when they do that. I mean, I remember when I was a kid trying to watch movies with my dad, and he would have the same attitude of, you know, I'm trying to watch the damn program, you know, like, But I didn't look at it as just a chance to watch a movie with my parents. I looked at it as a time to connect with them and learn from them. And, whenever the kids want to pause and ask a question, even if it's an obvious question or an obvious answer to that question, it makes me feel good to be the one that can provide them with the information or the guidelines around that topic, So I kind of enjoy it, but it can get a little annoying. But the kids definitely know that when they watch a movie with me, that it's going to take twice as long, than if they watch it with mama.
I just had an image come into my head, buddy, as when I was young, we'd have movie night, family movie night, and Dad was sitting on the other side of the room in his recliner. One hand was in his bowl of popcorn if it wasn't stuffing his face with the popcorn. And as soon as, us on the couch started talking about whatever we were watching, you'd see my dad, who always had that remote. He was the one in charge of the remote. He just kind of like maybe glance over at us while he was turning the volume up on the TV. It takes all kinds. And that sticks out to me because I know the connection I was trying to build was kind of, well, dare I say, just, overpowered by the volume of the other noise in the room. And so, yeah, I do want to honor that because I didn't experience that, but there was quality time, dare I say, missed in that when I was trying to connect. So good on you guys.
Well, I'm excited to hear from you too, man, because, you're a single dad, and maybe, the connection in times of chaos may look a little bit different for how you connect to your little one when you don't have a partner in crime there to bounce the ideas off of and to support you as you're trying to hurdle these obstacles. So I'm kind of curious to hear how your summer journey has been going too, because I know a couple episodes ago we were starting summer and things were difficult in both of our houses with figuring out that at-home schedule and what our little neurodivergent kids will do throughout those 14 hours of the day that we're still trying to get work done. So yeah, man, I'm kind of excited to dive into this and see what our different strategies look like and how it translates from a partner to our children.
Yeah, well, I mean, buddy, I'll be honest with you, I'm a work in progress and it's tough.
We all are, buddy. We all are.
No
one has this parent thing figured out, I'll tell you,
Let me share with you something that we did on the weekend. I decided to I schedule every 90 days a Cohen Dad 100 day, and that basically means yes day. And I have my phone out only for taking pictures, or also in this instance, Cohen was telling me to take a picture of something and send it to his mom. So we had that going for us as well. But we have kids who have ADHD, and when you're in a highly stimulating environment, you should have the expectation on yourself that your kid is going to very much bounce from place to place and, not sit still for very long and not sit still with their thoughts much at all. And we went to the aquarium first thing because I figure, hey, first thing, most people are probably not showing up right away. So we have an opportunity to slow ourselves down a little bit and take in what was offered there. And sure enough, I was right about that. When more and more people showed up, the noise increased and the bouncing from one place to another was much more erratic, and I had to keep up with my kiddo, and that was a little challenging for me. It was a chaotic environment just simply because there were just so many other people who were also trying to be stimulated in that environment. So we stopped at this one booth where this worker was there. She had like shark teeth and coral and other cool things to not just look at, but also feel. Well, Cohen, here he is picking these things up, and he's like, yeah. And he starts talking about them. And the lady's like, I could see her just getting a little uneasy. And she said, okay,
that's a $10,000 fossil, son.
You could already see pieces of it had been broken off previously. Not sure what happened there, but we have an educated guess. But she says, "Hey, buddy, how about I pick up the things and you can touch them and I'll talk about them and then, you can ask questions." And then some other kid comes up and Cohen just is like, so this is this and this is this. And you can see this lady like going, dang. And then he just like in the middle of what she was saying, he just took off and he's like, all right, and walks away. And I just said to her, I said, thanks. You get to say goodbye to this. I got to continue. So here I was just kind of like, realizing that I had set expectations for this day to be a little chaotic, but also feeling the overwhelm of it because I know that too. I was overstimulated in the moment. So I think I set up a certain expectation for myself, and also knew there was going to be a point in the day that it was going to get a little bit difficult. And I think the biggest challenge I experienced in that was that patience, and just kind of being there. Even though I said to myself, this is a yes day. Hey, listeners, I have a kid with ADHD. A lot of days kind of look like yes days, because his thoughts are going a lot faster than mine are, and his interruptions are frequent. It is a common story in our house apartment. Sorry, we got a neighbor or something there.
Defensive.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, so it's a common thing in our house for my kiddo to take charge. Either it's intentionally or unintended. And so therefore, I do have a lot of moments of chaos as I see them. But of course, poor kiddo, his brain is also firing so many things that he's just trying to answer that first. And that's a big demand on him. So I guess my advice for myself in this, first and foremost, is to keep that in mind, to remind myself, hey, the best connection you can make with your kiddo is to listen, ask questions, be curious, and realize, you have to give up some form of control. As soon as I try to control the day, well, then it's not really a yes day. It's me trying to steer him around. But also, I'm not doing him or me any service. We're going to end up spending more of the day frustrated and disappointed than we are connecting. So I guess you could say it's still a process. I have implemented some cool things recently where we basically add up points for him to earn certain things. This is like rules and positive behaviors and chores and responsibilities. All this stuff revolves around his choosing to make safe and kind choices and actions. And then my goal and my not my goal, but my part in that is to point it out, to take a step back and say, okay, this is what I observe. I'm going to voice that. So even if it's, something small, like, hey, you chose not to get angry and yell at somebody when you felt those big emotions in that moment, 10 points, high five, you're on your way to 100 points, and that earns you this. So I saw a lot of opportunity to help him with those massive changes in thoughts and directions, to also try and pay attention to the value that he's creating in those moments. So that's kind of where we've been at in the summer. But man, summer camp does not provide enough structure for him to feel comfortable. It provides him enough structure to essentially try and enjoy the moment and then jump into the next moment. So it's been a challenge, but I think the chaos in some ways also is good for him to kind of dive into.
Well, the things that I pulled out of that, brother, were empathy, humility, and connection, and it sounds like the same strategy that I'm trying to use in times of conflict and chaos, right? I mean, it's really easy to want to defend your position as you're feeling all these intense emotions, as things are going wrong, as plans are going to SHIT, and what we miss is that we're all feeling that, right? We get so caught up in, God, this is my experience and I'm feeling this and I want to be validated, but everybody's too distracted in this chaos to validate me, that we often forget to offer that same validation to our family members who are all experiencing this time of change and chaos in different ways, right? From our kids to each one of our kids and their different personalities, to our partners, to ourselves, and I think that creating that space to vocalize that and express however you're feeling with no judgment, shame, or displacement of responsibility is really, really powerful, because I think that humans are smart, man. We are smart, and we want to figure it out. We want to get over it, and we want to do it in a way that's graceful and that leads to better connection and growth, but we just have a hard time keeping that in perspective as things are going so negatively, so I think it's really powerful, man, that you just create that space. And honestly, I don't think that there's some planning and there's some recovering, and you need to have a plan B, right, in a direction that you go in the midst of things falling apart. But I think that creating the space for everybody to put their hat in the middle in the ring here and voice their concerns and their opinions is really valuable, because we're a team. and everybody's voice should be heard and needs to be heard, and needs to be valued.
So how do you communicate those needs?
Well, I just want to take a pause too to read a section of a book that you spent or sent me the other day. I'll let you do the citation of it when I'm done reading it. But I thought it was pretty valuable in what you said to me, because you just sent me a picture from the page, so I don't know who the author is or what the name of the book is. But I really enjoyed this part about RSD. And those of you who don't know, RSD means rejection sensitive dysphoria. And this was termed by a clinician named William Dodson. He's one of the people to start writing about ADHD, and he coined this term. And what rejective sensitive dysphoria, or RSD, means is it describes a tendency on the part of the people who have ADHD to overact precipitously and disastrously to even the slightest perceived put down, diss, or vaguely negative remark. They can spiral down to the depths in the blink of an eye and become inconsolable. And brother, when I read that, I thought, geez, that felt like my childhood experience. Again, we've talked about some of the decades before us and the mentality that ADHD and neurodiversity takes, which was go in the corner, calm down, I don't want to be a part of it, regulate yourself, nothing's wrong with you, and figure it out. Or don't act that way, or that's wrong to act that way. And, I've touched on this a couple of times before in some of the research that I dived into, and how shame can really play such a pivotal role in our neurodivergence. And it can just be so devastating to have all negative feedback all the time. But I do want to read you this next part, which is, on the other hand, because there's always an other hand, guys, with our neurodivergence. Just because we notice this RSD in our kiddos doesn't mean that, they're broken. They can't take criticism or judgment or critique. But I think that if we can maybe curtail our critique to the other side of the spectrum, which is this RSE, which is recognition sensitive euphoria. So what this is saying is our enhanced ability to make constructive use of praise, affirmation, and encouragement. As much as we get down in the dumps with ADHD, we can also feel that fuel and be motivated by that positive reinforcement and that positive criticism. And it's like superpower fuel to us as ADHD kids, with a little bit of praise, we can feel the confidence needed to learn about ourselves and what our strengths are, rather than always being critiqued on what we need to work on or what our weakness is. So I just kind of want to put that in the minds of our listeners, and to remind us, JJ, you and me, that, it's really easy to focus on the negative stuff as it's coming at you, but there's two sides to every coin, brother. And there's still some beautiful, beautiful light that needs to be seen in the darkness.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. I've been reading and actually listening to Edward Hallowell, MD, fairly recently, and he wrote a book that was really essential to the world of ADHD many years ago, called I believe it was called Driven to Distraction. Very popular book in the history of ADHD and just trying to get to understand people with ADHD more. That's really what this is all about right here, is giving us a guide to ourselves, the people who have ADHD, and to the people who maybe don't quite know how to best serve or be present for the people with ADHD. And, honestly, I have examples from my own life of being told I'm too sensitive, and because I was having a moment, and that really broke me inside. But the interesting thing was also about that is we have the flip of the coin. When somebody wants to create connection with us, and we feel seen and we feel cared for, like, man, we can turn that negativity off so quickly and be so optimistic and hopeful about the situation. On the on the turn of a dime, it's pretty remarkable how quick it can turn around for us. And I find that fascinating. It's a gift, but it also, of course, can be a curse for those who are living in a place where somebody isn't showing them curiosity and care. Too often we look at look at those moments of somebody acting out, air quotes, and we focus on that behavior. We don't ask, well, what's going on there? You mentioned curiosity at the very start of our recording here. Too often we lose curiosity when we're uncomfortable. And then we find ourselves actually damaging things further on down the road in the moment because we decided we can't handle this anymore. Great example too, running through my apartment just a little bit ago. My dog is barking at who knows what. I know the window cleaners are here wiping down the windows, and I'm like, damn it, dog, stop. And I grabbed her, put her on the daybed here, and she stopped for a minute because she was wondering why was I freaking out about her. Because I can't ask the dog, hey, what's going on in your heart, kid? But we as human beings, we've evolved to this point to show that curiosity and make that connection. And that's really what we're asking for as people who are working through our feelings in those moments where we are maybe triggered and we have a reason to, express ourselves in frustration, in sadness, and maybe anger, for somebody to ask a question of us and not send us further down that shame spiral, but to help carry us out, or at least give us a hand to work our way out.
Yeah, a powerful story that comes to mind is a couple episodes ago when we had Ayanna Davis on our podcast here. For those of you who didn't listen, she does a podcast called Phenomenally Autistic. She's a children's author. She's been living with autism. She was actually late diagnosed in life, not until her 20s. And so she lived, a good chunk of her life not understanding her emotions and the way that they expressed themselves. And it wasn't until they got that diagnosis that, she said that her dad apologized for all the times that he wasn't able to see that and show up for her and give her the space or the support that she needed. And through that acknowledgement and that accountability, they seem to be able to really forge a beautiful relationship where there seems to be a lot of curiosity and support and understanding there, not just between her and her dad, but she talked about her friend circle too, and how they now understand some of the things that trigger her and some of the things that she needs in those moments. And they weren't about, let me fix it for you in this moment, let me tell you what to do. It was about, what do you need? Giving the space so that she could calm down and get to a place where she could have a good dialogue about what the next step is. And I think that that's what we need to try to focus on as we're going through times of hardship. It's not the hardships, but it's the things that have kept us together up until this point, because those are the things that are going to carry us through.
And man, I'll just put it out very bluntly. Sometimes the statement of need in those moments is simply, I need you to not suggest that I'm a broken person. I'm a broken human. Because when somebody refuses to show curiosity and, has that statement like, oh, we just need to learn, just not seeing this correct. That's a suggestion that you're broken. And man, a kid needs from their parent an understanding, or at least an attempt at understanding through being curious. Otherwise, they're shutting down their kid and suggesting, yeah, you're incapable. I'm going to take the steering wheel here now because you have no ability to be, a human being expressing who they are. I'm going to take that from you. And that's tragic. So it is pretty remarkable when you see a parent who's probably, sometimes I think we do it where we take on the responsibility of our kids. We're responsible for their actions and stuff. But no, we're really just responsible to them, to help carry them when they ask for it, and to listen to them when they're expressing themselves. We're not gonna make a broken person, who's truly not broken, by the way, whole by telling them that they're wrong.
And I think that honestly, we have to look forward to these moments, JJ. I think that these moments of chaos are what define our family unit. When we have trauma or when our life is disrupted in a traumatic way, You know, God damn, I just lost my thought. Damn it. Oh, it's my ADHD,
Well,
guys.
let me ask you a question, buddy. Because this relates back to earlier.
Go ahead. I have my thought, but I want to hear your question first.
So I mean, it'll probably relate to this, but you know, you asked me earlier the question about the chaos and you know what things look like in my world, and one of the things that I fail showing up for my kiddo, and I say fail because hey, I fail every day. I'm not saying I'm just a failure, but I fail to be consistent in my response with him sometimes because I let my own emotions take over and then I respond in certain ways because I'm unfortunately incapable of helping myself in the moment. And that's been one of my biggest fears that's come true too many times, is that when my son is acting a certain way and I'm concerned, if I'm already in a state of escalation, I tend to escalate further. And I'm not saying I do that all the time. Sometimes when I'm escalated, I've found that I dug into my toolbox and actually delivered and helped the situation. But man, that's one of my greatest fears, because I know I have a kiddo with ADHD who's got thoughts bouncing around. He's gonna make impulsive decisions. He's gonna maybe be unkind or unsafe, maybe unintentionally too. And then when I am unable to show up to him in a consistent way, then he would probably not feel comfortable or safe with me when he knows this happened. Dad responded in this way previously, but then he responded in this way previously. I need to be on guard. So I've run into that mistake too many times, buddy. But yeah, I would love to.
We all do, you know. I mean, we're not perfect at this. We're not gonna be perfect at this. And you know, going back to the point I was trying to make earlier is, unfortunately, our kids do remember the negative times when we didn't show up. I think more than the times that maybe we do. You know, because it hurts more, it stings a little bit more, it has a more of a lingering effect to it. You know, what did I do wrong to make Dad upset? Why did he yell at me? You know, it's lasting. You know, so, and we're not going to be perfect, brother. We are going to stumble, and we are going to have days where we're just not with it, and the tone of voice just isn't on par that day. You know, but I think the goal here is to chip away at it. You know, and to sorry, wifey's texting me. But I think the goal here is to chip away at it. So we aren't consistently making the mistakes, but we're trying to close the gap and make more good moments than bad. You know, because we've heard it said too that, you know, for every negative interaction that you have in your relationship with your spouse, it takes 7 good relationships to make, or 7 good encounters to make up for that, right? Again, we don't taste the sweetness as much as we taste the bitterness. You know, when we taste the bitterness, it's, well, why was I wronged? I should get everything I want and I should have every one of my feelings met, you know. But when they are met and things are going good, we often just kind of dismiss it. Oh, well, you know, that was good. Oh, well, thank you. Did that. But we don't celebrate it as much as we discourage or you know, dive into all the negative feelings that we expose, you know. And I just, again, we're not going to be perfect. We have to give ourselves grace, JJ. You know, I think it's okay, but the more moments that we can have of patience and calm to realize that that's the path that we could take, I think the better we are off. So what do you do? What are your methods? How do you do the exercises beforehand to remember that, so when everything is hitting the fan, you don't forget? What does that look like? What does self-care look like for JJ and Cohen?
Yeah, well, you know, thanks for that reminder of grace and you know, allowing ourselves that you know, that just that acknowledgement that we're imperfect people who are on a path to become better toward ourselves and toward others. Because yeah, as you could tell in my story there just a moment ago, I was not in a place of giving myself enough grace because it was a tougher weekend. And honestly, buddy, I was I was there. I think it was when I was at the aquarium with my kiddo that I had this thought. I'm like, I want to call somebody and just tell them how hard this is right now. Because I think I need that. I need an outlet somewhere here.
We all need that, brother. We all need that. That's why I call you on the daily.
Yeah, and I appreciate those calls. But For me, it's really hard. I really love the totems idea that you suggested. But when things are in chaos and you're constantly having to go to the next thing and to the next thing, and my kiddo interrupts me all the time, whether it's through action or through words and stuff. So I don't feel like I get a firm footing sometimes. The value that I have learned through various reading, specifically with my kiddo with ADHD, to make it a good situation is to look for the good, look for the good things. Okay, Cohen interrupted me again, but he was looking at me. He turned to me and he expressed an observation and a thought. He's making connection with me. He's curious about the world. I mean, you mentioned, that for every bad you got to do so many good. Well, there's just so many good things right there that just happen that sometimes we're like focusing in on, oh, I got interrupted, so I'm upset. Well, what about all the other things that happen? This kid's trying. This kid's trying to make a connection. He's observing the world. He's curious about it, and he's sharing that with you. That's a lot of trust that's shown in that. There's a lot of great moments of just praise that could be missed if I'm just focusing in on interruption. It's endless if we train ourselves to stop thinking about the little slights, but the major gifts in those moments. Connection happens all the time. Even an interruption can be looked at as a connection. Maybe not the ideal way to make a connection if that was the regular, but I guess that's kind of the big thing is when I'm in those states of escalation, remind myself of what am I doing here? I'm present. I'm with my kid. I'm making this connection. I'm not losing the fact that he needs this from me. He needs affirmation. He needs validation. This is something that strengthens our bond. And because that's where I'm at in my life and in my journey right now as a single dad, that's my primary focus. I would apply that to a relationship as well with somebody that I was pursuing romantically, which makes me curious about your situation. And when you are in a moment of escalation or challenge, what are the things that you do? You can talk about your kids too, of course, because you have a lot of examples there as well. But what are some of the things that you've done that have led to great success and connection?
Well, I just want to say too, like back to my previous point is, I think that these moments are the ones that define how our family operate, and I don't know about you, JJ, but when my kids go through some hard times, I want to be the first one that they think about calling. I want to provide that safe space, and I want to give them example after example of all the hardships that they've seen me walk through and how you can recover from it. Now, I'm not saying that's easy and that I have it all figured out all the time, because that's the important message I think to get through during these times of chaos is, hey, we don't have it figured out. But as long as we stay strong and connect and communicate and have love at the forefront of this chaotic journey, we can make it through. And my wife and I did that by really trying to exemplify connection with the kids during this, because they're feeling a lot too. Our year was pretty rough, brother. We had to move our houses here. Financial contributions from co-parent changed a little bit. I don't want to get into the details of that, but it caused some disruption in our life and in our home situation. So we had to sell the house, look for a new one. So we moved houses this summer. And then after a year-long journey of lupus diagnosis, my wife was let go from work for missing too much work. California is an at-will state, so they can terminate for any reason that they so choose. So again, I don't want to get into the specifics of that, but we went from into a new house to looking for new jobs. I was with a job in film and television earlier this year, and we had 2-week visits in the hospital for our kiddos with Kawasaki, where they needed blood transfusions and intensive care. And then my wife went through this lupus journey where she was out of work quite frequently for doctor's visits and testing and all that, and to meet with specialists. So it was just constantly having to go to a pediatrician appointment, an urgent care, a hospital, an ER, go pick up the kids for sick days, early days, dismissals. And it, employment's got to make money. So, I got let go and thought, okay, well, we decided in our home, let's just work from home, for the time being. And we recovered and did great. But then now here was wife with her situation. So on top of all the health stuff and the kids' health and the finances, and then you got the work stress. So it was a lot, brother. It was some heavy stuff being thrown at us, that we're still dealing with, again, and our oldest was diagnosed with autism, me with ADHD. It's a whole restructuring of everything. And we were just very intentional about, giving each other physical touch and verbal affirmations. And we made sure to do that in front of the kids. And we made sure to do that with the kids. We had this spot in our old house. It was just in the kitchen. Just by chance, we would just kind of end up in that spot, as she comes home from work, dinner's being cooked, the witching hour, as we call it, all chaos is breaking loose. Everybody's energy is all over the place. And she would come in talking about her day, de-stressing. And we would always just kind of end up in this one spot, and we would just end up hugging. I would rub her back. She would lean into me, tell me about her day. And the kids always saw this, and they would always do the, ew, you're loving, ew, stop kissing, and, all that stuff. But it became a thing where the kids would say, whenever they would see us distressed, they'd go, maybe you need to go to your spot and hug it out. So it kind of became this inside joke of our family where we would see each other get worked up, anybody in the family, and you would say, do you want to go to the spot, hug it out? And it was just a great reminder, something to anchor us that there's love here, that we can make it through, just connect during all of this and we'll be okay. And coming into this new house, we said, okay, where's our spot going to be? So we kind of found the central part in the room to where we can still have that exercise. And I think just something so simple as that, JJ, a hug once a day can do so much for your family. Just a recentering around that.
There's a game that just came out for the Nintendo Switch, buddy. It's Disney Illusion Island. And you can play in co-op modes, and everybody knows, like, if you play any video games, like, a lot of your life is shown like little hearts. So I've got 3 hearts of life. And what's so dang endearing about this game is, let's say you're down a heart and you're playing with somebody else on the screen, their character will, like, put their arms out, and then you can walk up to them and give them a hug, and you gain a heart of life in that. So your example is so dang true, because somebody decided we got to put this in a game. But I do want to ask you the question, because I think we tell ourselves a story sometimes when we're in a season. Like, I bet the end of the tunnel, or the light at the end of the tunnel, is coming soon. And then it doesn't happen, and then it doesn't happen, and you all are feeling the weight of that. Mm. And when we talk about in vows in marriage, a lot of times we're riding a high, where we're at the peak, and that famous quote from the Bible about love is kind, love is patient. It's so easy to state that, especially on such a beautiful day. But what is it like to act that out day by day before the season starts? And I think in some ways you were getting to that, and you were talking about that, like, the work was being put in before you got to this season, which was, if we're talking about a calendar year, was actually many seasons. So you had the extremes of the year continuing throughout, and therefore you had to make this pivot as a collective to make it through it and to not hurt each other through the process. How do you approach those conversations in those moments where you are being dragged down and you are hurting and you're suffering? Because the hug corner starts to look pretty dark sometimes when you're feeling the weight of everything.
Yeah, brother. And we've talked about the importance of core values on this show before. And, anybody that joins our coaching, that's the first thing that I'd have you do. because so many of us go through life, we don't know what we stand for, and what our core values are, and what we want to be in life. And then when shit goes wrong, we don't have the tools or know which way to go. And we've talked about how the core value exercises played a pivotal role in our family. We've got it on the wall. We have our family photos there. We look at it every morning. We say the mantra: we love and respect ourselves and others. We are committed with integrity. We have patience and forgiveness with ourselves and others. And every day we grow. Everything that comes up, JJ, runs through that filter, you know? And when on the times of calm, we just say it, right? We don't know what it means. But when we're going through these trials, this is a great opportunity where we really get to define what that means for our family and what it looks like as an expression, especially in these dark times. That mantra, that those core values, and that little placard on the wall helps us when we're lost and we don't know what to do or which direction or what the right answer is. That helps guide us. It helps remind us what we stand for: integrity, commitment, growth, love, respect, forgiveness, patience. And just saying those words can really kind of help you pause and run it through that filter and come up with a more solution-based, address to this, where we feel that the connection is still strong.
I love that, buddy, and I do want to honor that by reminding the listener that you get caught up in a situation where things, we'll use the word hopeless. Things start to feel hopeless, and the core values exercise isn't a mask to pretend that things are okay when they're not, but it's a reminder to the people who are committed to each other that they're in it. So you could look at a situation. Let's say you did get to the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you reflect. You'd be like, wow, we were really hurting there, and it was hard, but we stuck it out with our core values. So in the middle of it, if somebody's struggling with themselves and struggling to understand, how do I approach a difficult situation when I know there's no perfect answer here, we could be swallowed up by it. Somebody could say, well, look at our core values. And the other person could say, yeah, but this is just too much. And then, you're swallowed up in the sorrow and the challenge of it. Or you can be swallowed up in the love of the two of you together, like, yeah, but you could say, well, yeah, but the love I have for you and the thing that we're building together is greater than the challenge that's trying to strike us down.
Well, I want to really talk about that too, because I think it's really important to talk about the stories that we tell ourselves, because it's a really slippery slope down the ice scape of this is hard, right? Because there's a lot of validation in negativity, right? Oh God, that does sound hard. Man, you're really going through it. Gee, I don't know how I could do that. And we feel good about that, right? You think, oh man, whew. Okay, well, see, it is hard, whew, and that becomes one thought, becomes two, becomes three, and before you know it, you're snowballing, man, picking up speed, and it's those neural pathways in your mind, and those thoughts become easier, and then you're not thinking in a solution-based mindset. You're thinking, this is just too hard. It's too overwhelming. I don't have the intellect to figure this out. And it's not that you don't have the intellect or the creativity to figure out the solution. It's that you have created shortcuts in your brain, that this is the answer, that it's just easy, it's just too hard, and you just need to roll over and accept it. And we don't stay in the solution-based mindset long enough. We want that validation. And when we start complaining, it's like, ooh, yeah, they just give me that drug, that mind drug, give me that serotonin. We just feel good, rather than, okay, you say, well, it's hard, but I've got this in mind and I'm doing this and this and this. And it doesn't feel any easier after you say it, right? You still got all those things to do. You still got all those obstacles to overcome. So it feels easier to just give into it and let that negativity overcome you. So, though it may feel like you're faking it to make it, or that you're maybe saying something that you don't believe in the early stages of this core value exercise, you do it every day, brother. You flex that muscle's going to grow. And those shortcuts in your mind where it goes, oh, negativity, negativity, bad, 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 is going to go, no, 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 I got this. We got this. But no, 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 it's all right. So watch the stories that we tell ourselves, okay? Because they play such a pivotal role, just the thoughts in our brain. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy to just switch it to positivity, but sometimes you do have to flex the muscle even though you don't want to. You got to get up and do the reps, man. You got to get up early in the morning and get the workout in, even if you don't want to. And it's the same thing with this. Even though your brain doesn't want to participate in the solution-based, love is great and life is grand and we'll make it through, sometimes you gotta kind of force that mindset to make it real.
Yeah, and core values don't necessarily mean optimistic, blind optimism, right? It's not that. You know, everybody who experiences loss knows that there is pain with that, there is suffering with that, and the value of having a family mantra and core values to bring you through that is that, you know, your loved one can say, "I really need to feel this feeling right now," and for us to validate that and say, I don't know how you could feel any other way. I'm here. I love you. I want to be with you in this because I recognize just how hard this is. There's no other way it couldn't be hard. And that's the strength in it, is that I'm here for you. I'm expressing the core values that we have together through this. We are hurt. We are in pain. We are suffering, and we're getting through it. The pain is a reminder of the strength that we have, because life does not end when you have one suffering of loss. Life continues, and you grow, and you strengthen the family through those connections. And someday, you know, we will lose each individual connection we have, but that doesn't mean that we suffer on the way there. It means that we earn the right to feel that hurt for the loss that will come eventually, because we have made something great of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful, brother. And, you know, I just want to tell a story of how my wife has been supporting me and how I've been supporting her through this. Is, you know, she's expressed a lot of fear throughout this time, and financial uncertainty and employment uncertainty and the kids' school uncertainty and what care will look like for them in a public school versus a private school where we just got this diagnosis, and what reports we need for the school to implement extra care for her. And it's just a lot of uncertainty. She's expressed a lot of those fears to me. You know, I know that this isn't what you signed up for, you know, and you got 3 kids that that you're responsible for and that you need to help provide for. And, you know, I don't know if this is what you thought that you were getting into, but I'm just worried that it's not, and that, you know, it'll be too much for you. And, you know, I was just very reassuring with her. I'm not going anywhere, and we're in this together, and love will carry us through. And, you know, I had a few moments where I was emotionally dysregulated and felt the overwhelm, or had selfish feelings where I need more affirmation or physical touch, or intimacy has been lacking because we've been so in chaos response mode. You know, these are all perfectly natural human emotions to feel, and we should express them in healthy ways, which that doesn't always happen. Sometimes, like you say, we're lazy. We're just not with it. We don't have the neural pathways, or we resort back to those old shortcuts, and our voice gets raised, or we snap, or whatever. And I had a couple of moments of that throughout this time, you know, and my wife was, you know, human reaction to it. I don't like that. I'm going to shut off. We're not going to talk for a minute until I figure out what's going on with you or how I want to respond, you know. But after I gave her the space and she gave me the space, and we're able to come back together, and she's able to give me the same, we're in this together. We're making it through. I'm not going anywhere. And honestly, you know, after those discussions, she's told me, and I've told her, that's what I need to hear. You know, like, that's it. That was the magic phrase for me. Because I just get so dysregulated, and, oh, you know, I made a bad choice in my emotions, and now I'm bad. I'm bad. I'm just that shame aspect. I didn't do a bad thing. I am bad. And my brain wants to go there every time. That's that ADHD, that RSD that we were just talking about, you know, where I maybe snap and I didn't mean to, and then she responds negatively, like, why'd you snap like that? And then I think, well, God, I'm a piece of shit now. She just critiqued me. She told me I was negative, and now I'm going to spiral down, just like that RSD says that we do, you know? And it's just chipping away a little bit at a time. The space that we give each other gets shorter each time, and the conversations get longer after that, and we have more in-depth and more conversations that connect us each time. It's not perfect the first time, the second time, and it probably won't ever get perfect, JJ, but we find a new layer, a new depth every time that we have to have these conversations. And every time that we overcome it, I'm always left looking at my wife like, God damn, there it is. Yep. We did it again. And that I'm proud of those moments. Like I said, I almost look forward to these moments, not for the emotion that it causes in each one of our family members, but for the connection, the potential for connection and growth that I know that it provides us.
And you shared two things about yourself there that I just want to highlight too. Is you prepare, you work toward this connection, and then you feel this shame about yourself in the moment where you've struggled, and but the reminder I would like to give you, and I think that most people really need to hear this, is that person's standing in front of you, and they're standing in front of you because they want to put in the work, and they're putting in the work because you helped them get there. And all that stuff is revolving around the two of you because you've put in the work and you care. So when we slip up and we make mistakes, there was that other quote I shared with you in that book where, ADHD or ADD, somebody coined it as attention deficit distorter, because sometimes we decide for ourselves and for what other people are trying to tell us that, no, it's worse. I'm worse. It's much worse. I'm much worse of a person than what somebody else suggests of me. But that person is still standing there, still wanting to put in the work, still believing and truly wholeheartedly wanting to work toward these core values with us, that we really should give them credit for that. Because, man, I mean, I've been so guilty of that myself, buddy, where, if I just was looking at somebody else doing the same exact things that I'm doing, man, I'd give that person so much more credit than I give myself. And the love that we create through those core values just kind of reminds us of that.
Yeah, that distorter thing, I think that's why I try to really practice the curiosity aspect of this, because oftentimes I will distort like that. I get a little bit of information or feedback or critique, and I take that and I run with it, and I go down my little rabbit hole of, well, you said this and I took it this way, and now I'm just running with it. And you again create that story of, this is what you meant and this is how it makes me feel, rather than, well, hold on, let's get some clarity on that. What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that? Can you expand on that? Because the times that I have paused and asked those questions are the times that I'm left going, oh, okay, yeah, okay. She doesn't. Glad thing I didn't run with that emotion, or, because there's a filter of emotion that we have to step back from and define better, rather than just taking hurt and running with it. So I'm guilty of that, man, and we have to be ever so aware of that when trying to teach these lessons and communicate with our neurodivergent kids, because they do that too. We have to be very clear about what we mean and what they mean. And they're not going to know that. So it takes asking really good questions from us to get there.
Oh, and man, what I just want to remind myself every day, and I hope other people get this too, is that, when our kids are young and, with ADHD too, that point of like really reaching them with a powerful question, it just might not be there at that moment.
Yeah.
But you know what? That doesn't mean you give up and you stop putting in that practice. It'll come. Yeah. And the more you put that practice into them, the more you show them your love and attention, probably the more powerful that will end up showing itself when that comes around. Man, like I said, this last weekend, I was just like, just trying to keep up. Oh, the interruptions, it's just yes day. Well, every day is a yes day with kiddo. I'm just kind of here just to do what he wants, and getting the story in my head that I'm not making a difference is the biggest lie I could tell myself as I'm raising this remarkable human being who honestly has a superpower of thinking at 5x, probably more than that by now, 10x speed my own. And that's something to be praising. I shouldn't be like suggesting that somehow I can't make a connection with my kiddo. Just like we talked about in the last episode with Grace, that I really appreciated the reminder is I was in a difficult space with my kiddo, and I had to remind him about some things that were tough that day. And then he was feeling upset, and then he said he wanted his mom. I could say, well, here I'm here. Why can't you talk to me? Or B, man, he obviously knows some levels of safety and understanding that he gets in his relationships, and right now he's thinking of a moment with his mom, that powerful moment that maybe I was trying to,
Make
ignore
about
what's
you.
really, yeah. But and then in that moment where I'm trying to make that connection, he's just seeming to like blow it off. There might be a moment where he's at school and he's like, I really need dad right now, because of that moment earlier on when I didn't give him the credit he deserved for what I was trying to do. There's so much value in the things that we don't get immediate gratification for, that we really need to give ourselves credit for.
Repetition, repetition, repetition,
Yes.
man. Keep at it.
There is no wrong answer in showing kindness and love to your kiddos and to your partner. And you know what? There's one thing that it's a totally random thought that I just had, but I practice lucid dreaming every now and then. And one of the things that I was taught in lucid dreaming is, let's say you're being chased by some sort of monster. If you turn around and you go and you just simply address that monster, because you realize you're dreaming, hey, why are you chasing me? That monster will stop dead in their tracks and be shocked, like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Because what are you doing? You're talking to yourself. You're giving yourself space, and you're actually trying to hear yourself. So when you do that to somebody who is in a state of escalation and they are incapable of, calming themselves and regulating in that moment, when you choose to ask a question rather than fire back, they maybe as an ADHD kid aren't ready in that moment, but most people will realize, oh, I am being attended to here. What is going on? How do I express myself? What am I feeling? A lot of that stuff can come. We need to take a step back from ourselves, let our ego go, and be curious.
Yeah, love that. And one of the things that I think was pretty pivotal in helping us through the summer was this 28-day no yell challenge that we've got going on in our house right now. We started this in the beginning of summer here, or in the middle of summer, really, and we were kind of at a loss. And like, how do we recover from this? Things are getting worse, it seems, behavior wise, with the kids being home, no structure, we're in a new house. It was just like, how do we fix this? And we're trying all these methods that we talk about and learn here, that I've learned over the last 3 years, and it just, nothing's working. So it's just like, let's throw the kitchen sink at it. Everything we've learned in the last 3 years, let's do it in 28 days. Something's got to stick, right? So, I wish I could take credit for all this stuff that I've been trying to put together over this last 28 days for our family, but I can't. It's all stuff that we've been talking about for the last 3 years, and it's all in different books and from different coaches and mentors and counselors and therapists. And these are all just like the best things that I've found have worked for us. And I'm just trying to organize it in a 28-day challenge. And that it's been beautiful, JJ. Every day we wake up and we talk about what the challenge is, and it's in our awareness of all this chaos is going on, but we're all going to talk about how we're going to be aware of our tone of voice, how we make each other feel, and that there's 5 of us in this family, and that we all have needs, wants, desires, and experiences from this. So just doing that and grounding us all around a core exercise, a core focus of the day, has been great, and it's been a fun game. The tone has lowered, the dysregulation has slowed down, and everybody's on schedules now and seems to be really doing great. So just something as a daily thing that you can sit and talk about for 10-15 minutes. How do we want our day to look today in the midst of all of this chaos? has been really powerful, just that intentionality behind it. So I'm really excited to bring this to you, JJ. I'm going to make you my second test subject, and I'm going to make you guys try it out in your household. But I'm really excited to bring this to the listeners and finish this up here. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll have something for you guys. I want to make this a completely free resource to you. You don't got to pay a dime. You can just come on our website and look at it and do it, and then tell me how you guys liked it and how it may helped your family or what your experience was. So to come.
Let me add to that too, buddy. The one word that I really appreciate in that, and I think it sometimes gets a bad rap, is challenge. You know, we as coaches want to remind you listeners, like, the value of being challenged isn't because we're trying to change you. It's because we're trying to bring out the good in you, and to recognize some of the effort that goes into that can be uncomfortable. But challenge is not meant to keep you in a state of discomfort. It's designed to move you past the point of returning to the constant discomfort from something just not quite going the way you would hope for it to go. So to recognize those gifts and maybe tune them to a certain, frequency that really hits and connects with you and the people that you're with and that you love or that you want to serve, or with your co-parent. The stuff that we put together is really designed to challenge you in the best way possible, to bring you to that next level of echelon that you want to get to. And so when you think of a 28-day challenge, that is grueling, that is intense, because that's a very intensive format designed to get you thinking, get the ball rolling. And then you gather pieces from that really worked well. And then you revisit the things that maybe failed the first time around, and you fine tune the process to the point where you start to say, oh my gosh, the snowball effect is really hitting my life in a good way. What else is it going to do? I'm excited. That's where we come in and really try and identify those things to help you succeed. And when it comes to ADHD coaching and stuff, executive function, guys, it's just a challenge for us. Sometimes we can't do some things, and sometimes we can. And sometimes it's okay to say, hey, I am going to miss the ball in this. That's all right. I'm learning. I'm working with the thoughts that I have before me. I'm identifying my powers, and somebody is challenging me to really put this to practice. So that's what we offer. And Colton's really put in some blood, sweat, and tears, all good things, nothing that he's draining his life from, to help you succeed. So I just want to kind of put that out there. That challenge is a remarkable thing that we should really embrace and not be fearful of, because we are getting you to the next level because we care about you.
Amen, brother. I love that, because, it's what we've been talking about. Change the story you're telling yourself, this may be hard, but it's not impossible, and through hard, we get some great growth. So, change the story, stop telling yourself that you can't, and find a coach. I'm going to promote all coaches right now. It doesn't even need to be us. Go find a coach, because we don't have the tools. We're not taught this stuff. You need to open your mind and your family's eyes to all sorts of different tools, tactics, and things that work best for you. Just because we're saying this isn't going to be a 100% fix all for everybody, but, JJ and I have been doing this for a number of years, that we've talked with quite a bit of experts, and we could probably get you some good resources to help point you in a direction and figure out what a intentional, exceptional connection with your family looks like. So don't be afraid of that. Don't shy away from that. We all need help. We all fail, and we all need someone in our corner, to call and bitch about all this stuff like I do to JJ every day. So thank you, brother, for lending an ear and giving such solid advice. If the listeners didn't get any value of it, I sure did. So thank you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, brother. It's been a wonderful talk as always.
Yes, and I hope you guys listened all the way to the end, and you tune in next week. We're going to be getting more into the story that we tell ourselves and why asking for help is so hard. So I hope to have you guys join us then. Until then, I'm CJ.
I'm JJ.
And this has been the ADHDads. See you next time.